What's a fact you know that almost everyone is wrong about? The Mayans didn't disappear or go extinct. They still live in Central America and speak at least 24 different Mayan languages. The last Mayan city didn't fall to Spanish conquest until 1697. Same for Aztecs. Nahuatl is still spoken in Mexico. Here in El Salvador is also spoken and there are government programs to revive it. Here in El Salvador. San Pupus's Plaza. I work in a school and yesterday read a textbook with kids that said, although the Mayans disappeared, there are still people who claim to be Maya, speak Mayan, and practice the Mayan religion. It's like they're too dumb to read their own writing sometimes. That's how I'm going to describe the USA from now on. Although the Americans disappeared, there are still people who claim to be American, speak American dialects, and practice the American religion. Robin Williams didn't kill himself because he was depressed. He killed himself because he had Lewy body dementia, a degenerative brain disease. His autopsy showed that he had one of the worst cases ever seen. His wife has confirmed that he had about 50 symptoms, and depression was one of the least intense. His best friend, who has a name I can't possibly spell, Bobcat Goldthwait, has also confirmed it wasn't depression or substance abuse that caused him to commit suicide. The article "The Terrorist in My Husband's Brain," it's a must-read. Lewy body dementia, LBD, is a disease associated with abnormal deposits of a protein called alpha-synuclein in the brain. These deposits, called Lewy bodies, affect chemicals in the brain whose changes, in turn, can lead to problems with thinking, movement, behavior, and mood. So it's the body literally clogging up your brain and there's nothing you can do about it. Yep, I would want to kill myself before it got very bad. A heart attack and cardiac arrest are not the same thing. Some severe heart attacks can lead to cardiac arrest, however there are many that experience heart attacks unknowingly and carry on their merry way. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thank you so much for the upvotes and thank you kind stranger for the award. Cardiac arrest means your heart actually stopped, right? It means it stops beating effectively to get oxygen to your body. Asystole means it completely stops. What did you just call me? Let's beat this guy up. He called you an ass mole. Pretty sure he said sucks to your ismer. This is really specific, but in most anatomy or biomechanics textbooks the ankle joint is classified as a second-class lever with the ball of the foot labeled as the fulcrum. This is incorrect as the system rotates about the ankle joint, not the ball of the foot. Therefore it is a first-class lever, not second. This right here is the hill I will die on. It's the hill you'll die on. I often say, I'm not dying on that hill to express my apathy. I'm jealous you found your hill. Your very specific, very accurate hill. Your flight isn't delayed because the tower says so. They blame it on us, air traffic control. Because if the airlines admit the blame on themselves they may have to reimburse you. Edit. It's weather 90% of the time. Those lying bastards. Same token, people are shocking at this. Saw a post a few weeks back where this guy was questioning why Virgin cancelled a flight due to weather, and wanted a free hotel etc. His reasoning was his iPhone app didn't show any bad weather and it was nice and calm outside. 45 minutes later there's golf ball sized hail in Melbourne, but Kavik in Sydney and people are still whinging about it. Airlines apparently love cancelling flights to annoy you, despite the fact it costs them revenue and gate fees etc. Diamonds can in fact be shattered with a hammer. There is a difference between how strong something is and how hard it is. Diamonds can't be scratched by another material, or cut. Edit. Guys, if you're going to post articles saying this is wrong, can you please read the article first? A lot of these are talking about materials that are hypothesized to be able to cut diamond but have never been tested because they haven't been found in the right chemical structure or in a large enough amount to actually make something to try it. You could totally be right, but the fact it's never actually scratched a diamond is kinda relevant. Edit 2. There is actually an artificial material that has been tested and is capable of cutting diamond. diamond can only not be scratched by natural materials. Thanks to you / the house chef. If you end up in a higher tax bracket, only the income above that bracket gets taxed at the new percentage. It baffles me how few people understand this. I have just stopped trying to help people understand this. Due to how our hours work, 24 on 48 off, we can earn overtime very quickly, and everyone always tells me not to work too much or I won't be making any money past a certain point, and my brain hurts for them. A defibrillator will not restart a heart, it will only stop fibrillation. Edit. Holy fuck. Didn't expect that smile. Ah, thus the name. I say we start calling them restarticators, so they do restart hearts. Edit. Thank you, mysterious benefactor. Yo, Harvard called, when do you want your diploma? Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical. You see the misconception all the time. Someone indulges in their favorite vice and says, gotta get my dopamine rush. But dopamine isn't about pleasure, it's about craving. Our dopamine levels don't spike when we get something we want, they spike when something we want becomes available, and go down once we actually get the pleasurable thing. Dopamine isn't the rush of driving fast, it's the green light that tells you to go. Edit. Obligatory thanks for the silver and RIP my inbox. And like some folks have pointed out, I'm oversimplifying for the sake of brevity. Dopamine has a lot of functions, different pathways and receptor sites, etc. But for what I'm talking about, here are some sources. Dopamine, rewards, and the brain, with a handy little infographic. Dopamine Jackpot. Featuring the inimitable Bob Sapoxy. That's also why drugs that work through dopamine tend to be more addictive. The pleasure chemical is a title that fits better for serotonin, but still, it's a massive simplification to think that the brain works with a chemical for pleasure, one for reward, etc. There are multiple chemicals involved. When I was going through my coke addiction and I ran out, I'd feel like shit up until I got the text from my dealer that I could swing by to pick up. Just the knowledge that I was definitely about to score some made the withdrawal symptoms go away. MSG is a natural substance. If you say you're allergic to MSG, you're allergic to tomatoes and cabbage and all kinds of natural food. MSG is basically if people started calling salt sodium chloride to make it sound like a scary chemical, then started having allergic reactions to it. MSG is basically if people started calling salt sodium chloride to make it sound like a scary chemical, then started having allergic reactions to it. Bananas are GMO. Lemons are GMO. Even more, they are GCO. They were created. So what you're telling me, is that life didn't give us lemons, so humanity had to make lemons. While serving on an airfield, I remember telling a non-aviation friend that there was a plane coming in about an hour from then. He said that was impossible, because the tower is closed. I explained to him that flights come in all the time when the towers are closed. Even commercial jets are constantly landing without the tower being open. He absolutely blew up, said I didn't know what I was talking about, and that planes would crash all the time if that were the case. How could planes land without a tower? That just makes no sense. I even got my superior officer on the phone the next day to explain it and he still wouldn't believe it. I had 3 other people under me explain it to him and he still wouldn't believe it. I told him, dude, it's really simple to prove, the tower hours are posted. Check the last time a flight lands for the night and I guarantee it will be after that time. He did, it was, and yet he still refused to believe me. The sad fact is, people would probably riot if they found this out, because they'd think it was horribly dangerous, but it's been standard operating procedure for decades now and no one has even noticed. It hasn't caused a single crash. Believe it or not, it's actually safer to come in after hours because of the reduced traffic. This is not something that needs fixing, it's a very logical move. But I'll bet there are even people reading this that won't believe it. Unless you work in aviation, you probably don't know any of this.